Now this is what I did yesterday. I beat all this Bondo and stuff off of the inner panel, straightened up this fender best I could, loosened up the fender bolts, and jacked it in to where it's pretty straight, and then welded it right there because my bolts are chewed up. But I got it pretty straight, a lot straighter than it was, and I got this all pretty much welded together where it's supposed to go. And when you slam the hood, the hood is straight. Show you that. Well, here's a little update on the project. You can see over there I just fiberglassed that floor. It's still wet. And if you look along here on the back of this bed, I fiberglassed all of this and all the way across, and then I sprayed it with some underliner or whatever, undercoat. This section here is drying, and then I'll spray it black, and then I have this bunch of big holes here to do. I'll get this side. I already did all of the, here's the passenger floorboard. This was all fiberglassed and then undercoated. I'll get some new carpet for it, but for now just a rubber mat's good enough. The other side's all real good, and got a new accelerator pump coming, so that'll finish the rust here. This fender here I've almost got done. It's all welded, Bondoed in. This actually looks pretty good. I still got to do some final coating. This door here is done. Got a little rough Bondo on it still, and but it's good enough. I sealed this window with flowable silicone. I checked the bottom, it was fine, but it rained the other day and it was just running water down in the floorboards. That's where all of this rust came from in here. But anyway, this back door here's real close. I have to adjust this, but it's basically good. This door, I welded it to the frame right here and fixed the crack in it right here. Also welded it here in the back. I got to clean that up and grind it. Put the new felt window channel in it. Window's pretty tight. It's all good there. I pulled this seat out. It was the sliders for the adjustment wasn't working, so I got that all cleaned up, de-rusted. Get a little more welding to do right here. A little Bondo work. A little bit left on the bottom of this door. But it's basically pretty much done. That fiberglass is really good. That'll fix all of my holes and cracks and rust spots. I'll do the other side. Then I'll undercoat this whole thing. This door's good. I welded it here. Didn't have to weld it up here or anything. This one's almost done. You can see I still have a little bit of work to do. That was all welded up. You can see how I remolded the door and welded a piece in there. So this is basically all good. I've got a little rust right there. I'll have to weld a little piece in. Same on the other side. And a little bit right there on the front of the door. I'll probably just dig that out and fiberglass that. But I got the doors where they all close good. They're straight. You can see at the top is straight. And two sides here are good. One more coat of silicone in there. I want to paint it and then put the last coat of silicone in after I paint it. But it's all real good. I'm almost done with the body work. Probably another day fooling around doing the fine touches, and this thing will be very close to being ready for paint. So project's coming along pretty good. Alright, this side is done. I used a big heavy glass mat like this on the rusted places, and I use this fine cloth and all of the channels because you can mold it. But that's all sealed up good. Other side sealed up. I'll just let this dry now and spray it with some undercoat. Vacuum the rest of the dirt out of here. And I should be able to get this floorboard finished here pretty soon. But that's definitely going to stop the rusting. Well, there it is, all done.
Coffee?
Yeah. All undercoated and dried. Looks good. Won't leak now, and really solid. Still a little smell in it. Got away from it for a while to get rid of the fumes. Get away from the fumes. But made the whole car better. Now I can stick my seats in it and move along. Alright, good morning. We got a little update here. Got some epoxy primer. I've got most of this kind of mocked up and done. I've kind of filled this around in here and sanded it off so you can see the high and low spots. I've got to make this eyebrow perfect. It needs to match that one over there, and you can see there on the hood it's got some low spots and metal and stuff. Somebody tried to do some body work to this before. They didn't do that good a job, so that's what I'm going to work on now, is getting this one eyebrow perfect. And I sprayed this with the good epoxy primer, and now I need to get it out. You can see there's still a big dent right here. There's a dent right there. Most of this is pretty good. I got another dent here. I just pulled out the radio antenna. I've still got some stuff here. Need to match this door. I've pretty much filled this dent here. I've still got some Bondo on it, and I kind of sanded it to see where I'm at. A few little rust spots and dents here. This thing here has pretty much been welded or fiberglass. I don't remember what I did to it, but it's done and undercoated inside. We can see a lot of rough stuff in here where it was rusted and somebody just came along and primer spotted the whole car. You can see my good gray primer here where I was filling stuff, but that's the goal for today, is get this eyebrow sorted out and get this front section straight and get this all in a good primer. This is some real old primer that I had before. It's an Asen made by DuPont. It's pretty good. It's an epoxy primer. It's a 1 quart of activator per gallon of paint, and then some reducer. I've got plenty of reducer. I mixed it up yesterday with some lacquer thinner. It must have took me an hour to stir that can, and it worked alright, but it sprayed on real lumpy and had to use high pressure in my gun. So I'll get a strainer today, take all the lumps out, and I'm going to try to get at least this one fender straightened out and primed, at least for the second sanding. I got to pull this Ranchero emblem here off and get this one fender sorted. The door's not too bad. I'll probably work on that place there, but if I could do the 2 fenders in the door today, I would consider that a pretty good lick. That way it'll take me about 3 days to get the car primer ready for the wet sanding. First thing is to Bondo up these areas that I've got here and then sand them down and primer it once more, and we'll see what kind of results I have. Well, here's the end of the day. I straightened this hood out pretty good, and I've got the epoxy primer on it. I still have a little work to do on this. I don't know if you can see there, but I got work to do on the whole thing there. But I basically got everything all taken out of here. This whole fender here has been epoxy primered. It's pretty dry now. Got it all over my window. My gun's dirty, and there was some really bad thick paint right in here, and you can see I put a little bit too much thinner in it, trying to keep it from splattering everywhere. But I got this door done, and I can see some of my high spots now. The DA, you can't really get stuff perfect, but it's pretty good. I got a little finishing work on it, but it's good primer, and I can see exactly what's going on with it now. I got a little bit right there in the back of the bottom of the door. I didn't really get to this. I worked on it a little, did some more sanding here on this. I was hoping maybe I'd get one whole side, but didn't work out that way. but I got one fender and one door, and this is really good solid primer, and everything under it is solid. I found some magic stuff here. I'll show you. I got this today. It's auto body filler thinner. It's, you can see it there on top of the can. It's kind of yellow. It looks like honey. That's what they call it, plastic honey. But you mix it with Bondo, and it just makes a Bondo. You can get it where it's just runny if you want. In fact, right here I put some in this hole, and you can see how it ran down in there nice and smooth. But usually when you get pretty close to final sanding on something, you have to go to body filler. Putty, I'll show you. Here's some red oxide. It's really thin, and you use that to fill little tiny nicks and chips and stuff, but you wind up using a whole tube of that stuff, and it's like 20 bucks, and you sand 90% of it off. And this plastic honey, I don't know what it was like $20 or something like that, but it thins Bondo down really nice. In fact, I used it all along the front here, and it just fills really well and fills little tiny scratches and stuff, and it hardens up good still, even after you put this stuff in it. But it's sure a good way of saving an old Bondo, and I bought a brand new can to try to do this little stuff, and without my glasses it looked fine. As soon as I put my glasses on, I could tell, oh man, it's real rough. You can see some of there's a little patch there, a little patch there, a little bit here. I just didn't get enough primer on this, but anyway, that's magic stuff, because you have to put on a big coat of Bondo and then sand the whole thing off, so you got a tremendous amount of time. And this plastic honey stuff worked really good. It makes it real flowable, and it will fill stuff that ordinarily you would have to use this really killer expensive red putty to fix. Well, anyway, that's been a big help there, and I get my gun clean, and I kind of figured out how to mix the primer and stuff. It's looks like we got an activator here. This is old. It's 2 years, 3 years old probably, but I stirred this up real good, and it takes 4 to 1 of this activator, and then I put in about another 1 part of just regular enamel reducer, and it thinned it out good enough, and went on real nice. I can see everything in it back there, and it's a good thick high build primer. So it's not dry yet, but it'll be dry in the morning. It's plenty dry to the touch right now, but now I'll take some hand sanding with a board like that, and I can smooth this all out. And anyway, this side's pretty much done. I still got something weird going on with this fender right here. It's kinked and wiggling around. I think it's missing a couple bolts on the bottom. I'll try to figure out what that is and straighten it out. Anyway, whole day, two parts, fender, but this was the worst fender and worst door, and so I could probably do this other whole side. It's not that bad. I could probably do the whole thing in one day now. And and then I've probably got another day for the roof and the hood and tailgate. So I got another 3 days basically to get this thing all in good primer. Starting to look good. Starting to look real straight. And I can't paint it out here in the dirt, of course. Primer's one thing, but I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'll have to rig me up some kind of a tarp here for this awning and pull it all the way up into here, and otherwise I'll have paint on everybody's car. Anyway, magic stuff right there, plastic honey. Sure makes Bondo go on nice. A little more update here. I did this side yesterday. Took quite a while, but this is the epoxy primer. It's in pretty good shape. I got a lot of stuff like this and little cracks and little stuff like that, but basically the whole thing's pretty straight. Of course I gotta fix these places in here. This fender's good. I got this matching the fender. A lot of stuff I got to clean up in here, but what I'm really working on is this section right in here. I marked it with a magic marker. You can see it's not really wide enough there to match the other one, and the same thing with the hood. It's got a lot of little bends and stuff. I pretty much marked it with a magic marker across there. This one here, I've sanded it down. I've got to put some more right in here. This fender's got to come out. It's got to be that wide, so I'll have to add quite a bit of Bondo in there. And then I'll work on getting this straightened out. And this one I haven't really done anything to it, but you can see where I have to bring the Bondo on it. Some of this is pretty straight. But anyway, I got a rough line here to try to match this thing up as best I can. So I'll add some Bondo and start shaping this. I've got some stuff in here too, little dents I knocked out. One here, another one here. Have to fill these. Looks good, but it's a long ways from final paint. So I've been basically 2 days on this one side. The other side's not as bad, but it'll probably take a couple days there too. Anyway, that's where we're at now. Straightening out these edges Sunday, so I don't want to fire up the air sander and stuff. And I'll just do this all by hand and try to get it as straight as I can. Alright, here I rough Bondoed this up. It's a thin layer. I'll let it dry a little bit and trim it down a little bit, and I'll put another layer on it. So I'll have it plenty thick. Looks like I got to go quite a bit more right there in the bottom. But It'll probably take 2 or 3 applications before I can get this out to the size that I want it. Slow process. Put it on, sand it off. Put it on, sand it off. A few minutes later, here's the next layer I put on here. I mixed a little more hardener so it'll dry a little faster. But I'm starting to get my width that I need. I'll let this dry pretty hard and sand it, and then I'll put another one on it. But I'm close to the width that I want, and I worked on this den a little bit more. I'm not trying to teach anybody how to be a body man. I think if you're in a shop, they'd probably scream bloody murder because you're going so slow. But this is how I do it, and measure both sides and just put it on slowly until it's right, and put it on in thin later so it won't break off or anything. Of course, the best way to do it would just put a new fender on it, but I don't have a new fender, and I'm going to try to save this one anyway. It's not that bad. And there we go. Final coat. Got it pretty much straight, wide enough all the way around. We'll do quite a bit of sanding to get it back down. And I kind of fixed that little dent there. But it's pretty straight. Might have to do one more thin coat just to fill the cracks, but took about 3 layers. We'll let it dry good, sand it off. Alright, that hardened up pretty good, and I've sanded it with 80 grit. It's pretty straight. I've got a little bit of final finishing to do in a couple places here, but basically the curve is right. It's the right size, blends smoothly in. I'll squirt a little primer on it here to kind of see where I'm at, but I think right now it's pretty straight all the way. I'm not trying to make it absolutely perfect, but it's a lot better than it was, and I think it'll blend in real nice. I'm just touching the metal in a couple places. We'll give it some primer and go from there. Well, here it is, squirted with sandable primer. Looks good all the way around. I've got a little place right there, another one right there, maybe a little right here on the bottom. That's been sanded with 80 grit. It's pretty smooth. So I'm going to take some red putty and just patch that rather than trying to put more heavy Bondo on it. And it's real straight, and then I can use a finer sandpaper, finish it, and then I'll squirt it again when I get ready here with this, finish that and some other stuff, and spray it once more with that catalyzed primer. Be a little thicker and harder. So we'll put a little putty on it and let that dry. Okay, I took some body putty and filled this. It looks pretty good. Mostly it was 80 grit scratches in there, and I just put some on to sort of fill it. And thing worth mentioning about this stuff, get a little stick. is that it shrinks a lot. It's real wet when it goes on. It's like liquid putty, I guess, you know, and when it evaporates, it shrinks a lot. Yeah, if you look right here where I'm pointing, there's a hole. Well, I knew there was a hole there, and also there's another one here. There's a little one. So I should probably take this soft putty out and fix this one at least with Bondo so it'd be good and strong. But I just wanted to put that on there and see what it was going to look like. But this is the thing about body putty. If you're trying to fill a hole, it's going to take you a couple times, or you got to really pile it up. But this is looking pretty good now. I got it mostly sanded on the inside too, so I'll call it quits on this one. I'll put a little more Bondo in, but I just wanted to point out that when you use body putty like this stuff, it shrinks a lot. So if you're doing it, be aware of that. Well, moving on away from body putty and stuff, I've got this roof here that I welded a panel in, and I rough Bondoed it. Now it's too big. You can see in there it's real wide with some trash and stuff in it. But I want to fill it all up. So whatever distance is here, like with this wrench, I want to fill this all up with Bondo, make a tool to cut this out and fill this hole right here, and fix the rest of this. Looks like I can grind this a lot more. That's some break in the metal. I might even touch it with a welder or something right there. And then this thing here, this should be pretty easy to sand. I can clean it out good. But this is going to be kind of the same thing we did on that Fender. Just mix up Bondo and forming a channel in there that's the same. So the first thing we do, this is 80 grit sandpaper. I'm going to take this here and just run it back and forth. And right away I can see where my high spots are and where my low spots are. And so I'll work on that a little bit and clean that channel up, and then we'll put a little Bondo in it. And I think I'm going to use that honey stuff and put it in kind of wet and hope that it fixes this in one go. Alright, I sanded this down pretty smooth. Got most of the rust and junk out of it. You can see I got a couple high spots that are actually really not high spots. It's just where I fixed it, I didn't build it up enough. So I can build this all up, make that channel straight, and it'll look just fine. Here's the first coat of Bondo in that thing. I used that Bondo honey in it, and it was holding up pretty good. I think I got it pretty level, but we'll let this harden up a bit and sand it. And it looks pretty good from here. It looks like I might have a couple of little places, but the next round will fix that. We'll let that harden, sand it, and put some more on it. What I did here, these are just fill-in paint chips in the body. These here had pretty good holes in them from the original door handles. So rather than, it was real thick blue paint, so instead of trying to sand the whole thing down, I just kind of filled them up. Good round the keyhole, looks like I got some. I got a little dent right there. This one needs some sanding. It's pretty much done. I got a lot of chip paint and stuff like that all along in here. I need to resand all this. And probably use that red spot putty and putty everything up and then prime it again. This one here looked like it come out pretty good. I still haven't finished the bottom, but it looks real straight from here. Looks like I need to sand it some right in there. got some kind of a paint bubble or something right here. I don't know what that is. I'll dig that out and mark it before I forget about it. Strange. Went right to bare metal. Anyway, so I'm going to paint this whole side here white. And I'll probably do that first. So it'd be pretty easy to, I don't really have to mask it too good or anything to paint it white. I just got to spray it generally in this color, you know, over the whole range here. And then I can mask that and then paint the blue to a real sharp line. So the white isn't that critical. I can do that first, but I do have to have everything fixed that's right around the white. So anyway, this side here is like it, man. It's pretty much done. Just a little bit right there on the end. And the door's pretty much done. Some of this stuff here. Bottom's done. The inside of the door's done. I blew this all out with air. Blew a lot of paint off. I still have to sand the inside. And I need to straighten this seam up right here. I got a little bit of something still going on with this fender. But I'm not going to worry about that little bent fender for right now. I'm just going to try to paint this thing as best I can. So this is kind of tacky dry now. I can sand on it in a few minutes. And I'll see exactly where I am. I'll probably just let it sit overnight. I'm kind of done with Bondo for the day. I took a break from the paint body work. I went over this. You can see I've marked it with a felt marker, the places that need work. 3 or 4 or 5 on the door. There's 3 or 4 big ones back there. Got a lot of areas. I'm tired of doing body work. Got some more there. So I decided I would go under here. I know that the end links were all shot. I started cleaning up this fender. And this time I got air out here and I scraped this all the old dirt and everything off of it. Pretty much blew it out. And there's my what's left of my old sway bar there, the end link. Bushings were just shot to nothing. I cut it up. The old one's under the jack. I just cut it off. I didn't even try to get it out. And cleaned this up, scraped all the old heavy grease off. And no, it's not perfect by any means, but blew it out good, and I'll paint that and undercoat it after I get this new end link in here. Here's the end link right here. That's a new stock one. Grade 8 bolt, so this ought to work just fine. Alright, I finished this. See, I undercoated it good. Most of it except for the top. I missed probably. But I got all of the rusty looking spring and upper A-arm, and got the lower A-arm. I cleaned it pretty good. Those are all painted. Tie rod here. And then I undercoated all the frame with that spray on stuff. And it looks pretty good. It's just try to make it look a little better. I'm not really trying to do it perfect or anything right now. I should have took it to a car wash and washed all the dirt off, but I didn't, so I blew it good with air. Anyway, that's another little done deal. I'm going to get some new wheel drums. I think these are bent a little. I put this one in the lathe and turned it, and it really wobbles, but it's straight with the brake now. So anyway, got quite a bit of dirt. I'll get rid of all this shit and go do the other side the same. I don't think it'll be as bad. Yeah, this is what I did instead of putting the other sway bar end link in. these wheels got to be cleaned up. It's going to be painted white, so I used a little bit of maybe an inch out of a quart can. It kind of took it off pretty good. This wasn't very good paint, and then I used a wire brush and a power wire brush. I got it cleaned up pretty good. Now the whole car is going to be white, or the car will be blue with the stripe down the side be white, the front will be white, and I'm going to make white wheels, so it'll have a nice white blue combination. So anyway, that's what it looks like, pretty much cleaned up. I just got tired, battery got low. I just sanded it for 60 grit. I'm going to spray some primer on it. It's kind of white, just see what it looks like. Alright, I did the wheel there. I used some scrapers and this and that, and got it pretty clean, sanded a little, and primed it. So the wheel looks pretty good. I can always clean up. I see a little dust and stuff in it, but it's going to kind of give me an idea of what the white wheels are going to look like. Well, there it is. Primer's still gray, but it sure looks a lot better than an old red one back there. You know, looks like putting those sway bar things in there, raised it about an inch, it looks like. The others are pretty crushed. So tomorrow I'll do the same thing to the other side. I'll go ahead and pull that wheel off and clean up everything under there and put in the sway bar and undercoat it best I can and finish up that wheel. That way that front end will be completely done. I won't really have to go back here and mess with anything as far as driving goes. Up in the Saga, this one here was a kind of a dark blue wheel. Took me all day, man, with stripper and stuff. Used about a half can of stripper. Had real dark blue thick paint on it. I finally got it all off, and I cleaned this up not super well, but I ran out of undercoat. But I got the A-arms pretty much clean and most of the dirt off of them, and the tie rod ends and everything, and I got the new sway bar bushings in there. They look pretty good. And I just painted the hub black there, so it'll look good on the outside of the wheel. Probably ought to take another 2 seconds and just paint the cap. Anyway, I'll stick the wheel on it, and we'll see what this looks like. And this side pretty much done. I'll come back in later with some more undercoat and finish up all this stuff in here. We'll go ahead and put the tire on it and see what it looks like. Well, there's that. Looks pretty good. At least both front wheels are done. I started working on this a little. Rusted right in the front, so I cut that out. I think that's probably the last of my welding here on the whole car. The rest of it looks like just paint chips. But I'll weld this up, put a plate in it, and it should be good to go on the rest of this. Just a matter of sanding. Door's pretty straight, closes good anyway. Got the back of the door there level with the top of the bed. And then I have these two wheels here. Of course, they're going to be like the others. It took me all day to do this, to clean up that whole thing and put in one tie rod end and strip the wheel. The wheel took most of the work. So it's a couple hours at least on each wheel. So I might be able to get 2 of them done in one day if I'm not having to clean up the whole front end and do that. So I'll probably weld this up today and put some Bondo on it, and I'm just going to leave the rest of it alone until tomorrow. But the front's done. Raised it up a little bit too, about another inch. So now the rear looked like it was setting too high before, but I think the front end was just sunk down. But it looks pretty straight now. This side still got a lot of little stuff I got to do to it. Paint nicks mostly. Still have to do the roof and the bed, but I'll do this up and then turn it around, and I can work on the bed back here and not have dust and everything go out in the yard.